Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my rational perspective on Chelsea 6, Barnsley 0. Chelsea emphatically through to the next round of the League Cup. That was such a fun game to watch. Some of the play in that second half was absolutely lovely to watch, lovely to witness. I think what Frank Lampard demanded going into that game pre-match, talking about the need for intensity, the need for fitness within his players. And I think even though he didn't admit it in the pre-game, I think Kai Havertz scoring his first senior hat-trick was the perfect scenario, as well as other really encouraging performances. But before we get into any of that, we're going to talk a lot about this tonight. I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. And if you're excited about Chelsea, excited about Kai Havertz, please hit that like button because it helps out the videos as well. That team was interesting to me because it wasn't too far away from what I predicted. Firstly, I think no Ruben Loftus-CHEEK. That's interesting with some of the other news we've heard today. No Rudiger. I'm going to touch on that in a video tomorrow. But no Ruben in this squad, I think, is an interesting development. And as well, he was fully fit. No injury to him as well. Seeing Emerson start very much down to, I'm sure, Ben Chilwell's fitness, as we saw coming on later in the game. But then looking at the rest of the team, I wasn't too stunned that Ross Barkley was in this 11. And then sort of seeing how it was going to line up. And pretty much from the start, it was quite clear it was a 4-2-3-1, which is what a lot of us have predicted recently, understanding if that's going to be the main formation this season. And considering Kai Havertz's performance this season, if Kai plays like that consistently, I think in some ways Frank is going to be forced to go into that formation. Because if Kai, and yes, I know what the caveats will be, it's Barnsley, it's the League Cup, it's Championship opposition, but from me, the first touch from Kai tonight, I think you just saw a player that was in his probably preferred position, as he said himself a week ago, and just was flourishing tonight, absolutely flourishing, purring on that pitch with every touch, gaining confidence, really dictating play, really finding those pockets of space. But of course, it wasn't plain sailing for Chelsea tonight. That opening 15 to 20 minutes was quite concerning, considering how Barnsley got into a half, were able to create opportunities, nearly score a few times and open the scoring, which should have completely changed the complexion of the game, to be honest. Caballero having to make a few important saves throughout the game, to be honest, at crucial points. Barnsley very much pressing us very intently, and I think the worry for me in this game that I think deteriorated over the game because Chelsea grew in confidence and the quality shone through, and Barnsley definitely tired as the game went on as their pressing deteriorated. But our lack of DM tonight, I think that's the biggest negative for me of the game. I think it really showed you the lack of depth we have in that position when N'Golo Kante, who was rested tonight, even Jorginho to an extent, who could have been that tempo dictator tonight. I think over the game, I think Kova and Barkley definitely improved in the second half and were dominating that midfield by the end of the game. But I still feel, as many people pointed out, watching a game, if this is a Premier League side, we could be down here. And I think that's the concern and why there's been so many links to a defensive midfielder that Frank Lampard wants. I think you can see that not only for squad depth, but I think what Frank Lampard wants from that team. And if he wants to play a 4-2-3-1 and wants a really attacking side, especially with Kai Havertz in the team as well, I think you're going to need a natural DM, maybe alongside Kante as well. That was a concern to me. But of course, Tammy Abraham opening the scoring. Tammy, although the headlines I'm sure will rightly go to Kai Havertz, I felt Tammy had a really encouraging night. He scores the first goal, sure it's a mistake, but clinical finish. And I think Tammy's all-round play was really, really good tonight, really strong. I think he was linking up well with the fellow attacking players, especially a link with Kai Havertz. And I think he looked confident out there. I think he was a player oozing with confidence, oozing with like a motivation to go out there and prove to everyone, not only Frank Lampard, but maybe some of his critics outside the club and to supporters as well, and maybe doubt him this season, that I can still be a key player. Don't forget about me. And I think that was such a big element of tonight for some of those fringe players. Whenever they get an opportunity, need to go out there and prove themselves. And Tammy did that tonight, not only with scoring the goal, not only with creating goals for other players, but also I think just generally, I think he looked like such a confident player out there, which was great to see, because I think he really took his opportunity. The second goal was absolutely wonderful, and it kicked off what was going to be a wonderful night in terms of goal scoring. And Kai's first goal for Chelsea. Mason Mount, who missed a glaring opportunity, made up for it with a wonderful ball and a brilliant dummy, an exquisite dummy from Tammy Abraham through to Kai Havertz, and a wonderful finish from Kai. It was a class finish, but what I love from that was just a demonstration right away, and we saw this later on in the game as well, why I think Kai can be a game changer for Chelsea. Not only that creative side of his game and flair, but just having a midfield runner late into the box. We haven't had that for years. A goal-scoring instinct from that midfield, I think, is going to be so key to Chelsea. And I think, as you saw tonight, that's what Kai can bring. 2-0 up, and you're sort of thinking at this point Chelsea maybe can relax into the game a bit more. And I think going into half-time, you were sort of thinking at that point, we've sort of got to a point in the game where, sure, we've been under some stress in this game, Frank. It's not been as comfortable, but I think Frank will be happy the fact that Chelsea can get better in the second half. And then, of course, the third goal, another Kai involvement, a brilliant tackle. Of course, I don't think it'll be given as a Kai assist, but Ross Barkley making no mistake. And from there, to be honest, Barnsley really just deteriorated. I think they clearly were shot at that point. It's always one of these things where you got to take your early opportunities. Barnsley did not do that tonight, and Chelsea, the quality shone through, and we very much took our opportunities as the game went on. And I felt like Chelsea's fitness, sharpness and confidence grew as the game went on as well. I think that was a good thing as well to talk about. And also Kai Havertz, of course, scoring that second goal as well. It was another mistake, and in the first half, I think for me, Chelsea were giving the ball away so much in their own half. In the second half, Barnsley were giving the ball away in their own half in dangerous areas. And Cover floating the ball back to Tammy Abraham in the box, and Tammy with a lovely flick. Once again, that connection with Kai Havertz, Kai running into the box, brilliant finish, and he's on a hat-trick. And just before he gets sent off for Ben Chilwell's debut, Kai finishes it off. It's a bit of a rare goal, a mistake from Bradley Collins, but it was great to see Kai Havertz score his first senior hat-trick. Seems to take it in his stride, to be honest. I mean, Kai's not the most extroverted guy. You can clearly tell that. He's quite a laid-back guy, but on the pitch, he was so expressive, so dominant. And it was wonderful to see. I mean, as a Chelsea fan, I'm sure Frank Lampard, as Kai the player coming into the team, such a big signing. I think it's such a big night personally for him. Yes, maybe outsiders will go, it's Barnsley, it's the League Cup, and it's not going to be, I think, on the highlights package, hopefully by the end of the season. But just in terms of him, getting his freshness, getting motivation and confidence being a Chelsea player, I think tonight, hopefully, will be very important for him. And I think that Tammy and Kai connection for me, I think is really encouraging. I think as we go into the weekend, and we're talking about Pulisic and Ziyech maybe not being fully there, I expect them to hopefully be in the squad. That'd be a real bonus, but I don't think either of those players will maybe start that game. Right in there for Frank Lampard, right in front of Frank Lampard to say, listen, not only am I scoring goals, I can link up with Kai Havertz, one of the best players in the team currently. And I think that's something that Frank will look for at the weekend, maybe playing Timo a little bit wider and maybe playing Mount, Kai, Timo behind Tammy Abraham. I don't know. We'll get into that in my team selector, but I felt Tammy, that was just so impressive for me. And then, of course, Ben Chilwell coming on off the bench at 5-0. Chelsea were just playing some exquisite football. They really were. I mean, they were taking a mick a bit. Caballero still needed to make some good saves. I don't know if Mendy arriving has sparked him to become prime Neuer, but Caballero still needs to make some good saves to keep the clean sheet tonight, the first clean sheet of the season. And then Ben Chilwell. I mean, how good could this night get? I mean, Thiago Silva, I just want to touch on Thiago Silva as well. Had a little bit of a shaky start, gave the ball away, but I think Thiago Silva getting 60 minutes in his legs an hour, pretty good, to be honest. I think he looked pretty sharp, in terms of passing. I actually think passing could be an underrated aspect of his game this season. Maybe finding forward balls to the attacking players like Kai Havertz could be a really big asset for Chelsea. And you think when Pulisic's back in there, Timo Werner's in there as well, it could be a really good threat for Chelsea. But good to see him on the pitch. Ben Chilwell coming on for Kai Havertz, and Ben Chilwell setting up the 6th and final goal for Olivier Giroud, a headed goal from another sub, Olivier Giroud. And that was it, really. And Ben Chilwell looked encouraging too. There was a few moments where Ben Chilwell drove from deep, that acceleration, and also setting up a goal from the left back. I mean, I hope that's going to be a key element to our game. I'm not sure with Ben in terms of fitness. I still don't expect him to start the game against West Brom. Just you're looking at Thiago Silva only getting 60 minutes, Ben Chilwell getting, just over 20 minutes. I think you should expect him to be on the bench once again. But good to get him out on the pitch, playing for Chelsea for the first time. I think with both those players, just waiting a little bit longer, but it's good to see them finally getting their full debuts for the club. But overall, brilliant night, really. I think in terms of what Lampard would have wanted, such a dominant display. I think some of the play in that second half, we probably should have had a few more goals, to be honest. Ross missing a sitter, Mason missing a bit of a sitter in the first half too. Mason and Giroud linking up really well, and they could have scored the goal of the night, to be honest. Bradley Collins making a really good save. And I think that Chelsea, just being that expressive team, just going out there, being creative, creating opportunities, which we really haven't done in the first two games, to be honest. Frank Lampard wants that in this team moving forward, and hopefully naturally that will influence our performances going forward. I think the balance in midfield needs to be addressed, but with N'Golo Kante coming back into the team on Saturday, I'm really interested to see what Frank Lampard does, because I wouldn't be too stunned, because of course transfer speculation around Declan Rice, I'm sure that won't be sorted, maybe even this transfer window, but I wouldn't be stunned if Kovacic and Kante may be that midfield two behind Kai Havertz at number 10, because I don't think, Kai playing at number 10, play Kai at number 10. He's clearly so dominant there. He can be really effective there. Of course, we need to see it in the Premier League consistently, but that would have given him so much confidence and belief tonight. And I think with his fellow attackers as well, going into that game at the weekend, I'd love to see Kai at number 10. Maybe Mason a little bit wide. I know people don't like that, but I don't think Callum Hudson-ODOI really grabbed the opportunity tonight. He seems to be playing a little bit within himself to me. He got into some really promising positions, especially right early on. He missed that opportunity right at the start with Kai set up for him. But then from there, it seemed like every time he got into promising positions where you felt like he could drive at the defender, he seemed to cut back or even put a cross in first time. So many times he doubted himself, overthought things, and seemed to sometimes run into trouble, go backwards, which is not good for a player in the team. And I just hope for Callum's sake, all the speculation at the moment, I'll probably make a video on this situation in full to give my thoughts about it, because there have been developments in recent days. But it's good to see him on the pitch, but I don't expect him to be in the first team on Saturday, the starting 11, because I don't think he did enough compared to the likes of Tammy Abraham. But those are my thoughts on the game. Please let me know yours in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.